Thank you. It's an honor to be here. I'm having a hard time having fun right now just because something so horrendous, shocking, traumatizing happened in my life in June with my mom and stepdad. They were attacked and my mom was killed, and it was really horrific.
Yeah. Was, but isn't now.
Well, my stepdad is in a healing process. He's damaged. My husband and I moved in. Our lives have changed a lot. You've helped me a lot, but it's still hard, the suffering.
Yeah. We know.
It's hard to look for joy. Coming here was great.
It is harder at sometimes than others, and nobody listening in or who has any awareness of what's going on with you would deny that it isn't rough, and that focusing yourself into a place that feels better is harder under some conditions than others. But there's something else that happens when you sort of want something that you sort of don't have. You sort of don't focus. And when you really don't have something that you really want, there's a greater probability that you will focus. When unthinkable things, unthinkable meaning that you didn't want to think about them and you tried not to think about them, when unthinkable things happen, when really unwanted things happen, of course it's going to knock you over. Of course it's going to be something that you writhe in for a while. But in that writhing experience is also a clarifying experience that when you come out the other side of it, and you will, not only will you not spend too much time trying to define the horribleness of it, you will find yourself more easily and eventually even eagerly explaining the benefit of it. Now, that's sort of like someone having taken a journey and they're already at the destination, and they're saying to someone who still has that long journey to take, it's going to be okay and you're going to like it when you get there. And we know that words fall far short of soothing. That's why we're talking to you in vibrational and energetic terms. People have coined a phrase, this too shall pass, or things pass more easily with time. And all of that is true. But we're going to give you something here that is going to make it come about faster for you. Faster for you than if you were not able to hear this and understand it. And that is, if you will try to not keep active in your vibration the description of the trauma, it will fade into a manageable place for you. You see, it's interesting as we look at all of you in this world. Man running around killing people in Los Angeles, and people terrified about where he might be. People talking about global warming, and people watching the news of floods and storms and worrying about so many things. We acknowledge that you live in a world where there are a lot of people living contrast that isn't something that you want to live. And the reason that we started out as strongly as we did earlier today is because we want you to understand that there is value in contrast, even contrast that you don't want to identify or even think about. When we say you are where you are, it just has to be the most annoying thing that you ever heard. But you are where you are, and you can't undo what happened. You can only respond to it with softer and softer and softer focus. So we work to try to give you the vantage point of source. When Jerry made his transition into non-physical, And when she realized that he was going to, when she realized what was going on, it was one of those unthinkable things that the whole idea of it was just incomprehensible. She could not get her thoughts around it because she was not willing to acknowledge that there was anything about his death experience that was worthwhile or meaningful. In other words, come on, Abraham, you said that we are the creator of our own reality, and I do not want this. But when Esther realized that not only was it not her creation, and not only was an inevitable thing happening to him that is going to happen to everyone, took a while, but in time Esther settled into the rightness of it. Now there's something interesting. We really want to stay around this subject a little bit until you can really feel it, because it was very real for Esther. She didn't even begin to try to feel better until she had no choice. So for Esther, that meant it was already done. In other words, for many nights she dreamed him back into his body. She dreamed him back into his body, and he would say, "This is backwards. This is backwards." She would dream him back into his body and play with him in her dreams, and then when she would wake up, she would be mad at him all over again. But in her dream he would say, "This is backwards. This is backwards." So we want you to understand that this life process is an eternal one. In other words, you're coming, you're playing, you're sorting, you're sifting, you're launching rockets, you're reemerging into pure positive energy. And if you will make a little bit of an effort to accept the perfection of that process and not try so hard. Now, you're in a situation where you've got some of that you can accept and some other things that you can't accept. But we are not talking about that so much, and we're not talking to them at all. We're talking to you. And what we want you to understand is that you can poke at it in places that it hurts, and you can poke at it in places that it hurts less, until eventually, if you keep poking where it hurts less and less and less, you'll poke and it won't hurt at all. You're going to come to the place, incredible and in many cases ridiculous as it would sound to people, you're going to come to the place where this is not going to be a painful subject to you. But as long as it is a painful subject, you've got to stay off of it. Because if you keep poking where it hurts, then you keep activating the thing that's hurting. And the thing that is hurting you is your feeling of vulnerability, your feeling of not being able to do anything about it.
Yeah, and then there's a trial, so it's like a perpetual.
Everything is perpetual. Everything is unfolding. Esther said to us more than once, she said it a lot, somebody should call somebody. Somebody should call somebody. There's something wrong with this. For something to happen that I have to be part of that feels like this, something's wrong with this. And that's sort of where the whole world is standing. This is a premise that doesn't work for humanity. It says we need to be able to control all outcomes and make all outcomes be the way we need them to be in order to feel good, And you have a really big burden that you've put on yourselves. A really big burden, one that you're not ever going to be able to accomplish. In other words, do you believe that you can control the manifestors in the world to only present to you things that you want to see? Do you believe that? And does that make you want to cower and hide, or does that make you want to be a selective sifter? Do you want to say to those around you, live well and be safe, because I couldn't stand it if anything happened to you? Do you want to say that to the people around you that you love? Sure you do. That's what you want to say. You want to say, don't get in trouble, don't get run over, don't get kidnapped, don't let anybody beat you up, don't let anybody take advantage of you. You want to say that because it hurts you to look out into the world and to see things that you don't want to see. But is it a possible thing for you to prevent those things from happening? Does your happiness hinge on those things? That's really the question that we're asking. Because if your happiness hinges on your ability to control outcomes like that, then you've got something going on in your grid that's going to keep you forever bound, forever not free, and forever unhappy. But if instead You can reach the place, and you can. In fact, it's only those like you. It's only those like you or those like Esther who have experienced a traumatic loss. It's only those of you who have experienced something that has been so big that it seemed indefinable, and so big that there seemed no way out of it, and you find your way out of it. When you find your way out of it, now you are free, you see. When you find your way out of the discomfort, now you are free. So it's pretty early in this conversation.